It's time for our next question type, weaken an argument. So you know the drill by now. Go ahead and read this argument, identify the evidence, identify the conclusion, and this time you're going to look for the answer option that calls the argument into question or weakens it. Pause the video right now and try this on your own. Let's take a look at this argument together, and we'll start out with the evidence. Last summer on Amity Island, there were 84 shark attacks. Fact. This summer, after a campaign highlighting the importance of sunscreen use, the number dropped to only 37. Here's my last piece of evidence. Furthermore, not one of those 37 victims was wearing sunscreen at the time of the attack. It's clear then, here's my conclusion, that sunscreen has some repellent effect on sharks, and the town council should expand the sunscreen campaign next summer. Well, it's always a good idea before you jump right to the answer options to see if you can identify any potential weaknesses on your own in the argument. Just a good habit to get into. So let's do that right now. Did you notice anything maybe a little fishy about this argument? Sorry, couldn't resist. Well, for one thing, we have some numbers. And as I mentioned on the Bubbles the Clown question, when they throw numbers at you, there might be something weird going on. For instance, do we know how many total people there were on Amity Island this year versus last year? Maybe this is a higher percentage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other potential weakness that I see here is the correlation causation issue. It's true that after the sunscreen campaign, the number of shark attacks went down. But does that mean that one caused the other? Not necessarily, right? We don't even know if people saw the sunscreen campaign or if it was effective. So just a good habit to get into to identify potential weaknesses. I will say, though, that this piece of evidence, right, about who got attacked and who didn't is somewhat compelling. Of all the people who got attacked, only 30, or all, I should say, of the people who got attacked, all of them were not wearing sunscreen. So that's maybe a piece of evidence that we're going to have to contend with. Okay, let's just dive into the questions here. And again, I'm going to start eliminating these one by one out of order so you don't know what's coming. Why don't we start by eliminating answer option A. Sharks prefer swimming in colder waters. Well, even if that's true, right, or if we take that to be true, what does that tell us about this situation? Absolutely nothing. We don't know where Amity Island is or the temperature of Amity Island's waters. For all we know, Amity Island is off the coast of Antarctica or on the equator, right? We just don't know. So that's out. The next one we're going to eliminate is answer option D. Several members of the town council own stock in a sunscreen company. This is the conspiracy theory option. And when you think about this one, right, you have to make your own assumptions for this to be true. So what if they own stock in the sunscreen company? Are they trying to line their own pockets? You really have to kind of like tell your own story to make this one work. So that one's out. All right, now we get to the serious ones. The next one we're going to eliminate is answer option C. The number of total visitors to Amity Island is higher this summer than it was last summer. And this actually kind of goes to what I was saying about the numbers here, right? We kind of want to know how many total people were there or whether this was a lot or a high percentage of people who got attacked. But if anything, this answer option strengthens the argument. It's saying that even though there were more people here this summer, fewer of them got attacked. We can't assume either way, but nonetheless, if it does anything, it strengthens the argument. Okay, now we're down to answer options B and E. Did you pick one of these? I bet you did. But which one is right? Well, the wrong answer is answer option E. I know. So we'll talk about this. Fielders Cay, a resort town right next to Amity Island, experienced a sunscreen shortage, yet had no reported shark attacks. So you might look at that and say, well, game over, right? There's this other town over here, and they didn't have sunscreen, and they didn't have shark attacks. But what do you know about Fielders Cay? Anything? You know that it's right next to Amity Island. Fair enough. But does Fielders Cay even have a beach where people swim? Maybe their beach was closed for the summer. You don't know. That's my point, right? And in order to pick E, just like answer option D, you would have to make all sorts of assumptions of your own. The correct answer here is B. And let's talk about this. People who do not wear sunscreen are more likely to engage in other risky behavior. You might look at this and say, what does this have to do with anything, right? What does this have to do with the problem? What it does, what answer option B does, is that it offers a potential alternate explanation for why people get attacked by sharks. And just by doing that, it weakens the argument. It doesn't destroy it, but it does make it less strong. And I'll get into this a little bit more. So think about this, right? The argument wants us to believe that the reason that people do or don't get attacked by sharks is whether or not they're wearing sunscreen. And again, right off the bat, we might be skeptical of that claim, but we have to contend with this piece of evidence that of all the people who got attacked, none of them were wearing sunscreen. But what answer option B does is it connects wearing sunscreen to other risky behavior. What's an example of risky behavior? I don't know. Going out in a lightning storm, swimming with sharks, right? So if people who are likely to engage in other risky behaviors, let's call them daredevil, are also the people who are less likely to wear sunscreen, well then that means, or that would show up as this piece of evidence, right? That all the 37 people who got attacked were not wearing sunscreen. Answer option B provides an alternate explanation to this argument, and therefore it weakens it.